welcome everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Panorama Brand Studio Podcast. Here today, we have a very special guest, our boy Osil, and the co-host Jesus Ortiz.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today, man?
How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man.
I see you got your coffee, bro. I see you got your coffee.
Fist bump, man.
Go right into it. Yeah, man, I got my coffee. I'm highly caffeinated, ready to go, man. I'm excited, man.
You drink a lot of coffee?
I drink too much coffee.
Oh, how many?
3 cups of coffee.
Oh, wow.
A day.
The definition of Tate. Andrew Tate.
Too much coffee.
Too much coffee.
Why do you drink so much coffee, man?
That's a great question. I do feel like it gets me in this kind of creative zone. So
Okay.
normally I drink some black coffee.
Okay.
And it just puts me in that zone, and I'm just getting in my creative writing flow, and it just puts me in this content creation mindset for some reason. So it's,
So what happens if you don't drink coffee?
If I don't drink coffee, I start, what's up? Where's my coffee? No. But I feel like it's kind of like my yin to my yang. I feel like it's kind of a part of my morning ritual when it comes to creating.
That makes sense.
Coffee,
Man, that's really cool.
Yeah,
and is it always Starbucks, or you'll change around?
I'm open, man. Normally, I like to go to local coffee shops to support local.
That's
but
better,
if I need to go to Starbucks locally, that's close by, convenient.
Hey, it's still local.
Exactly. It's still local. Yeah. So, yeah.
How has that been going to checking out all this coffee place? How you find one that you said like, damn, this is a hit?
Yeah, it's been fun. So I started doing this kind of Coffee Quest HTX where I was visiting a bunch of
I was paying attention to that.
And I was documenting it just for fun.
Okay.
And it's been awesome, man. Just checking it out, supporting local small business owners, which I'm very passionate about, right? Local entrepreneurs. And then just catching the vibe. Every environment, I do believe that environment inspires creativity.
Oh, okay.
And I noticed even during COVID, when I was creating content, I was really not inspired to create content at home.
Okay.
So I needed to get out. So this whole notion of if I need to spark creativity, I just put myself in a different environment. And for whatever reason, which is the reason why the coffee house, I just put them on my headphones, I got my laptop, and just seeing different faces, different vibes, plants, and just, different type of energy really does something for my creative flow.
You're tapping into different energies.
Exactly. Environment is everything, man.
It's everything.
It's true.
Because if your environment is not there, you don't feel creative, and you just don't feel like doing anything sometimes. You just want to like chill, relax. But when you're in the environment where all the people are like doing something creative, or you just feel good, or drinking a nice cup of Joe, you just feel good and you're ready to get into your zone.
Correct. Well, even like with podcasting,
Yeah.
right? There's a difference between type of energy when you're doing a solo podcast at home, where you're actually in studio, recording in front of people, being in the studio, having the lights. It's just a different kind of vibe, different kind of energy. So yeah, man.
I know you've been doing podcasting for a long time. Yeah, we both probably learned a lot from podcasting just from you, just being around you, going to some of your events and things like that.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, like, I know you do a lot of like podcasts. You have a multiple podcasts that you produce. I know that. And I also know that you do a lot of like events for the community, for creators, for YouTubers, for podcasters here in Houston. And that's actually how we actually met. That's how we met, and in a way, that's how we met too, from a networking event. It wasn't through the one that you created it, but you were actually there as well, and that's how we met. It was pretty cool. And earlier we were talking before we started this podcast about some stuff that you shared with me, and I wanted to talk a little bit about that, because to me, now that you mentioned it, I totally forgot about it, and it was so powerful. When we met, he told me that he did a lot of podcasts, and at that time I did some like live videos, kind of like what you did, right? I did some live videos, podcasts, things like that. But for me, like when I told people like I do podcast, everybody was like thinking about audio. That's it. And until this day, a lot of people still think about it that way. But to me, it's like, it's not really that. It's more like a live. It's like a little, is it a show? Is it a broadcast? What is it? And then that's when I met you and you started telling me some stuff. What did you recall from that conversation that you shared with me?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we were talking about, work, and you were telling me a little bit about, he was like, I'm a videographer and I do film, etc. And so I do podcasting. I remember you were very inquisitive. You were very curious. So they like, really, podcasting, and how can podcasting help, B2B businesses and entrepreneurs?
I was asking
you were asking a lot of questions. And then I remember saying, Miguel, I said, give it a few years, and podcasting is going to be a marketing tool. It's going to be a thing, and video podcasting. And I said, stick what you're doing, because remember that? I said, eventually audio and video will collaborate. and it's going to become a legit marketing tool for creators and business owners to be able to share their message. And as it's basically, fast forward to 2023. And look at the work that you guys are doing. Video podcasting.
Isn't it funny? Because I was like trying to remember where we met, and I remember now. I was doing that video for the I forgot her name, but she writes books. Sharon.
Yeah.
And then she had an audience, and that's where we met you. That I was interviewing her.
That's right.
And I was doing the video podcast.
And that was a live stream.
That was a live stream.
That was a live stream. And that was about 4 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's basically around the same time where I met you too, about that time. And that's the time where we saw as podcasters, as creators, we saw a little bit of a trend. I didn't know how things were going, but you with some experience from the podcasting world, you kind of saw already like the trends. You already visualized how everything was gonna like really move forward to and change. And it's happening. It has happened, and it will continue to evolve.
Well, we saw video marketing is not new. Like it's been here for quite some time, and we definitely I saw the trend of video marketing becoming a thing for entrepreneurs and creative entrepreneurs. And then I started seeing audio, and audio at that time was respected, but it wasn't respected from like a high level B2B perspective or as a marketing tool to really share the message. But now podcasting is big business now. There's actually a conference right now happening called Podcast Movement right now as we record this. Okay. And a lot of big companies are pouring tons of money into podcasting. iHeartRadio, Spotify, we're seeing a lot of big money that's poured into it because they believe in this medium. Yep. But now what we're seeing is that we're seeing the marriage between video and audio. And I think it's beautiful. Podcasting in a traditional sense is audio only. It's an MP3 file, right? But now we're seeing video podcasting take space. And now YouTube is investing a lot of time and energy into podcasting. And now they just announced that they're going to be doing an RSS feed. You'll be able to create an RSS feed, a private RSS feed within their platform. So what does this mean? More growth for podcasters. So this is a really exciting time for video podcasters and podcasters in general.
And just podcast in general, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I remember you, Jesus, early on, with just seeing you doing the live stream. And Jesus was one of those guys where I would sit back and I'm like, this guy's relentless with the live streaming, and seeing you kind of like cut your teeth early on, using like your phone, using StreamYard and kind of giving yourself permission to do it. And it wasn't like, I remember it was like raw. It wasn't like the sexiest background. You were live streaming from everywhere, like rooftops at the mall or the parking lots. And this guy was all over the place.
I was taking everything with me.
Everywhere, taqueria. Hey, what's up? He was all over the place, right? And I always respected that about you, man. I remember you coming to me and asking me about podcasts. It's like, well, what is this podcasting thing about? And you take an interest about the podcast. So seeing you kind of evolve from live streaming into this space of podcasting, and now obviously doing the work that you're doing at Panorama Studio, I think it's pretty dope, man. Very inspiring, man. Right. Yeah, man. Yeah, I've been checking out your evolution, man, and I've seen it from day one. So
I love that when people like vibe, sit me down and let me know that. Like I have other friends that they really close it, like, hey, you might not know, but I'm actually, and then they start saying stuff that I like. Whoa, holy crap, that was like 3 years ago. I didn't know that you ever gonna remember. That's when you know that somebody's actually paying attention and they care about. Not everybody is, the like and the trust on it.
Really quickly, I was gonna ask you if you could just kind of move a little bit this way. Just for the camera purposes, because I don't. If we're looking at that way, then our faces are gonna be look a little bit more this way.
A little more.
Yeah, just kind of like center to me a little bit more.
Yeah.
There, that's perfect. That's better. That way, people can see Jesus, they can see you. And everything.
Okay. Yeah, man.
But nothing is gonna be cut. I like the raw, even though we kind of do these types of things.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is cool. I love it, man. I love it.
People need to see that, man.
I love it.
So I know there's a lot of people out there, and like you just said, podcasting is really growing.
Yeah, man.
Whether it's audio, whether it's video. I wanted to ask you, since you've been doing this for a while, what are some things that people like who want to start a podcast and are inspired to do so? What are some like tips or things that you would like to like share with people? Like, how do we even start this? Like, how do I even start a podcast?
Yeah, it starts simple. It's finding out what the podcast is going to be about. Who is it for, and what type of value you're going to bring. I think what ends up happening with podcasters is they jump in the game and they just want to get the equipment and record, but you got to go in this with intention. You got to make sure that you need to really define who your audience is. So what is the show about? Who is it for? And then what type of content you're going to deliver. Okay. I think if you get clear early on as far as that type of like content and where you're going to position the podcast. I think not only are you going to have the ability to position your podcast brand to grow an audience, but to position it to where you have clarity and you can actually market the podcast a lot more effectively versus having a podcast for everybody, but really having a target focus audience.
Now, what about those people who don't really have a budget and they just want to start something? How can they start? Like, what kind of, like, what would you recommend for them to get, like, just to start out? Because a lot of people might not have all this equipment and stuff.
Right.
Like, what do you think would you recommend?
Yeah, well, there's the beautiful thing about podcasting is it's a low entry level. Right? So it does not cost a ton of money to purchase a quality microphone. Right? So a microphone that I always recommend is the Samsung Q2U.
That's why I got
microphone. You got it. That's right. That's right. I remember.
I got them in there. Four of them.
There you go.
I feel the link. You sent them that.
He did. He sent me all the links, and that's where I bought all of that stuff and the recorder.
That's right. Oh yeah, the Zoom H6.
We got it in there.
So that's all you need. So basically, you need a good quality microphone.
Okay.
And for anybody starting a podcast, if you're watching or listening to this, is I highly recommend you get a microphone.
Okay.
The reason why is people will judge you by your audio. And this is an audio platform first. Yeah. So there's no excuse not to have a microphone.
That's true.
And a microphone costs $50, $60. You get a Zoom recorder, which is basically a hand recorder where you can record your audio into, correct? And then that way you can go ahead and record into that, take the SD card and upload it, and then do the editing and post-production. But really, man, I always say all you need is the mic and your message. And that's really essentially what you want to do. But, a Jedi, right? When you use Star Wars, a Jedi needs a lightsaber before he goes into battle.
That's true.
So podcasters and content creators, you need tools. Do you need to spend a lot of money? No. But you can start with your camera and then just a good quality microphone to get started. And I highly recommend everybody does that.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah.
That's cool. And let me ask you the why. Like, what is your why? Why are you passionate about podcasting? Why should we care about you loving podcasts? Like, why?
Oh, you're digging deep, man. I don't think I've actually been ever asked why I'm so passionate about helping podcasters and content creators. I love the idea of having conversations and learning from other people.
Okay.
And I do believe that conversations in these amplifying your message can help other people out. And I think if we have an opportunity to be able to do that, then I believe in owning your message and finding tools and now with technology to make it easier to be able to do that. But I feel like creatives naturally are introverted. Yeah. And I'm always encouraging to start a podcast to build confidence, to develop your mindset, to be able to do something that's going to make a real impact in life, whether it's for, business or for personal. So I do believe like even podcasting has helped me cultivate a lot of confidence, has developed communication skills, and a lot of skill sets that can really benefit not only creators, but for people from all walks.
Yeah.
So I'm just very passionate about just encouraging, inspiring message makers to get their story out to the world. And that's cool. That's what drives me. Cool. That's what drives me, man.
Yeah. Getting other people to share their story, their word. And you're actually very curious about listening to these people's stories. And
to add to that, Miguel, is, individuals specifically that are passionate about stepping about educating and really giving to making their own dent in their industry. I don't think that people should just get a microphone just to speak and say whatever. I think that if you have a message and you're passionate about something and you want to teach and you want to entertain or you want to inspire, uplift, I think this is a great opportunity for you to do that.
That is powerful. Because like you're right, there's people who they see other people doing it, they just want to get the mic just to ramble and talk, which I'm sure that's okay too. But like it's even more powerful when you actually have a message or something that you want to share.
That's right.
Definitely.
Because you can hear that passion behind it when you actually want to share something.
Right.
Or feel like you need to share something.
My best clients are the ones that are very mission based. So some of the clients I've had, they're very big ROI. Let me see the metrics, and I understand that market because that's sector has kind of got into our space, right? And I understand that. But content marketing, true content marketing, is about it's value first. Like value is the game, and if you don't provide value, and you go into looking at the metrics, and I always say message over metrics.
Yes.
Focus on giving me a good 50 to 100 episodes. Then we can talk about analytics and metrics and what we need to figure out. Is it the marketing? Is it the branding? Is it the title of the show? What do we need to do to position to make sure that this message goes to the right people? Or maybe we need to dig into podcast hosting and teaching you how to become better at this interviewing. You know, so there's a lot of underlying skill sets, and that's what I do as a coach. Wow. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important to do that. So not just for anybody. It has to be people that are very passionate about their message, and those are the ones that I see succeed, not the ones that are in it for the metrics.
Oh wow,
that's so true.
Wow. That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Because how can you get good metrics if you don't have something good to share, or if you don't got stuff that people actually want to listen to?
Correct. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, so tell us a little bit about that, about what actually you do with clients, with the community when it comes to podcasting.
So for my coaching clients, it's I help them. It's step by step on helping him, build a brand, a defined brand. Okay. Helping them attract an audience. Okay. And then the last 4 steps are helping them market and monetize their message. And I like to use the BAM acronym, BAMM. So build brand, attract an audience, you market the message, and then you monetize it in that order. What happens is a lot of people start podcasts. Yeah, people start podcasts and they say, how can I do this and make money out of it?
That's true.
And they do it backwards. And I don't believe in that. If you're going to go into podcasting to make money, then good luck. You're going to pod fade really, really quick because you don't really make money with podcasting. Podcasting is not even a lead gen. It's actually a nurture. It's a community builder.
It is.
It's about building reputation, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I do, is help my clients kind of get unstuck. And, you'll be surprised. I'm sure, you're working with podcast clients. Yeah. A lot of it is really kind of helping them cultivate the right confidence for the first time, listening to their voice, being behind the microphone, and getting their mindset correct before they actually step into the space.
How do you do that?
That's really interesting. That's a great question. Yeah. Yeah. So I do that by simply just recording and practicing. And just recording and hearing certain things.
Just audio.
Right. Okay. So we just kind of do some recording sessions, some dummy tracks, record, and then figure out where, build their confidence. Because finding your voice, it's a challenge, and that comes with time, right? But just like even etiquette, for example, like there's a lot of podcasters, this, where they don't even know, how to use the microphone correctly. So they're back here.
Yes.
Hey guys, welcome. It's just
happens all the time.
So you can teach people microphone etiquette, how to project their voice. You can help them how to pause, embrace the pause, not feel like they need a ramble, but just take time and collect their thoughts and then deliver their message.
Wow.
And then also figure out some of the things that, people are, and I know everybody has their crutch words like, and so, and we all have them. Yes, but listening back helps you become a better communicator. And that's like the underlying, so underrated skill set that nobody really talks about in the podcasting space, of how good you get at communicating. And the more you do it, the better you are articulating your message. And I think those are the things that I try to make sure that my podcasting clients are very mindful of. Like, yes, we're going to start the podcast, but my role, my job is to make you feel more confident and to help you articulate and communicate your message in a way where it's going to create the most impact. And that's what I do for the community. You're asking me the second question.
Yeah. You remember, that's
the
good.
The community is education. Listening is another thing that makes you a great podcast.
You listen, like, wow, that's impressive. That's good.
Community. So community, I started Pod Houston, which is a podcasting community. You guys have been part of it for the past 5 years or so. Yeah. I've been passionate about community for a long time.
I can tell, man. Yeah. Every time I go to those events, everybody's excited. You're talking to every single person there. Because that's another thing, man. People don't see that. But when I go to other events, to people who host some big events, and they don't even take the time to come to you and just say hi, man.
That's very
Some
true.
people just want to do it for other reasons. Like, it could be just want to build a better audience, influence, power, whatever that is, money. But to me, it's very important, and it's so crucial when somebody's hosting an event and they take the time to come to you. I know, well, they take the time to come to you and just say hi. They acknowledge you. I know, you know what I mean? Like, and people who actually are passionate about meeting people, getting to know people, they do that very well. And I know you do that very well. So that's pretty cool.
Well, I received that compliment, man.
Yeah.
I really do. I've gotten that compliment before, and to me, that has been the highest compliment I've gotten in the community. Like, nobody says, "Oh, this event is great," and they'll compliment me on different things, or "This is cool," and the speaker is great, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But for them to say, "Hey, you take time to acknowledge me, to welcome me and to make me feel at home. And I can't tell you, Miguel, how many times I have people who say, I'm introverted. I'm not into networking events.
That's true.
I'm just a podcaster that's trying to do this thing. And I go to your event
and
I don't know anybody. And he goes, you take the time to smile, to welcome me.
Yes.
And really introduce me to everybody else.
Exactly.
And to me, that means a lot. And I do that not, because I used to be like that. I'm very introverted.
Of course.
I used to be like, who do I know? Whatever. So I'll make it a point. And I think part of hosting events is making sure that you engage with the community members. Even more with the new faces that come in, to make sure that they're home. Say, hey, this is a home. This is a safe space for you to create with other creators. These are people just like you that are building a podcast.
And
welcome.
And I was gonna mention that too. Like, let's say you go to other events where people might be a little bit very extroverted and they just talk to each other and they don't even care if the other person comes. But this is the thing that I've learned: creative people, a lot of the times, are a little bit introverted. They're more reserved. They're not over there. Like, they stay behind a computer a lot of the times, designing stuff, graphic design, video editing, whatever it is. They're getting to the craft so much that they focus on that a lot. I'm not saying they're 100% introverted, that's all they do, but a lot of the time that's what they are. And so you creating this big creative space for people who are creatives, a lot of them are going to be a little bit introverted. So for those people, it does mean a lot when people, like yourself, when you host the event, you go and say hi, you acknowledge. Because a lot of the times, those people, and this happens to me too, they're creatives, they're very creative people, and they're creative. They attach themselves to their work. They attach themselves to their videos, to their graphic designs. So when they deliver, they feel like they're part of that creative work that they're delivering. So they attach themselves to their work so much that's when people compliment on what they do, it's like complimenting them. That happens to me. That happens to a lot of people that I've met in the creative world and field. So when you go out to these networking events and you just kind of like, they don't feel acknowledged a lot of the times. That's why they put a lot of, time and effort into their actual work and deliver, so they can be acknowledged a lot of the times, creatives. Because this happens to me too, you know what I mean? Which is not, I don't think it's really that good to attach yourself to the work you do, that's it. Because if somebody doesn't like it, then your confidence goes down because you're attaching yourself too much into that deliverable. So it's really cool that you acknowledge these people, going back full circle, that, acknowledge because they want that and they just want to be a part of that community. We want to be we all want to be a part of that community.
Yeah. And I think it's important for creatives, right? Jesus, I mean, I met Jesus at a lot of creative events, but the importance on creative people that are naturally introverted, as you said, which is so true, but having creatives really kind of step out and away from their laptop, away from their microphone, away from the recordings.
Oh yeah, you need to.
And really get connected with people, because I think to me, it's like,
that's true.
It's podcasting could be a lonely venture. So stepping out and speaking with other creatives, connecting, sharing stories,
is the relationship
about the challenges, relationship building, and I think you've been very big on that. And I'm
instead of money, it's the relationship building.
The extrovert over here, the extroverted creative.
I'm trying to get him out there to the event.
No, he's trying to get me out of.
But he does good. He tells me how, because he asks, did I? And I'm like, no, dude, I've been watching you. He listens too, so he's that's the best thing. You gotta listen to the other person. Because if you just do blah 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 blah, how are you gonna know what they want and what there's need or what are the pain points that they got for you? And I have a question. I know that you had your No Permission Needed podcast, and you had it for a while, and I know that you switched to, that's why your shirt, creative factor.
I'm rocking it.
My question is like, for everybody out there, because there's a lot of people that start their podcast and we do it consistently, and then some of them, they get to 10 and they quit. What was your point on that I know you didn't quit, but you were like, it's a moment of time that I gotta change it.
Pivot.
Why? Pivot and change the name. Why did you do that? Did you feel like the other one it was just enough, or you just said, I just gotta start a new one and a different mindset?
That's a great question, Jesus. To be completely honest with you, so No Permission Needed was a podcast that I was able to amass, when I initially launched it, over 1 million downloads, and had a lot of success and had a lot of great guests early on, the first rendition of it. And then like the last part of it, I felt like I was going through a part of my life where I was transitioning and healing from a lot of things. It was a very personal thing. So it became like a personal diary, and I was documenting like some of the things that I was experiencing. And a lot of people were really connecting with it. But I was like, I don't want this to be like a sob story. So I want to make sure that this show inspires. And people would be inspired by it. But I was like, let me put pause on this right now, because I had a calling to help, to get back into my roots, which was helping content creators. And which is the reason why I created content, Creator Factor, which was, Creator Factor is an identity. It's a declaration. And I really wanted to get into that space on a deeper level. So I wanted to talk, the title, creator, right? Very specific. And then the factor is more of the identity. So the reason why I decided to pivot was I just felt like it was a season in my life where I had to put pause. And I think for podcasters, especially early on, I want to say like 95% or maybe even more, the first podcast won't succeed. Like there's a lot of things that you'll learn that you'll have to make a pivot and make a change. And that's okay. If you look at some of the TV shows, right? They're pilots and they're seasons. And what happens, they're not ongoing. Sometimes it's okay to pivot. That's another thing too. Podcasts just feel like, oh my God, am I a failure for doing this for Saints? No, there's seasons for everything. So I'm still passionate about No Permission Needed. Yeah. I still am very passionate about the mindset and the personal development side. I do feel like I'm going to go back to that eventually. But right now in this season of my life, it's really honing my skill as a coach, but helping content creators, deliver the message and also kind of document my journey as I'm learning so much about video and transitioning into my next level as a creator. Right. Yeah. So I just felt like it was a season that I want to get into, and that's where I'm at with Creator Factor.
Well, you're right, man.
What was the idea of Creator Factor? Like, when did you were sitting down and you were like
the name, or
say it? Because I was following you when you were doing that, and then you did the video, and I got the shirt. So I was like, I wonder how was he sitting drinking coffee and be like, you know what, this is the you had a thought. You had a thought maybe going in your head, and you're like.
But I just want to touch on one simple thing. Like, as creators, I'm sure you like to create, just in general. Like, I know that happens to me, but I'm sure you do like creation. It's like a part of human, man. It's humans. Right. We love creating things, whether it's cars, whether it's businesses, whether it's emotions or anything. Like, it's part of our DNA as human beings. And so I'm sure that's another reason why you like to create different things, because once you create something, you stick to it. But at the same time, I'm sure you just love creating new things. I'm sure you like starting to create like new podcasts, new this, new that. That gives you energy. I'm sure, like
1,000%. 1,000%. I like to do this exercise where I like to pick like 3 to 5 words that are gonna like encapsulate my year moving forward. And one of the words was energized. So I make sure that alignment is everything. And any project that I do I always ask myself, is this gonna energize me? And what I discovered is that podcasting energizes me. Hosting an event energizes me. Coaching energizes me. Wow. Building community energizes me. So I make sure that I use that to align myself constantly. So with Creator Factor, it was just a point of Zeus where I was like, I want to help content creators. It was interesting because people were like, I got a little bit of backlash because my podcasters were like, yo, should it be about Podcast Factor? Like, are you a podcaster? And it's interesting because I'm a creator first, but I definitely identify myself as a podcaster. But as you guys know, that I was also creating, events for Vid Houston for video. I think that's where you guys met. Yeah, that's where we met. So like, I love creativity. I love content creation. I love content marketing. I love content, period. So I wanted to be able to have conversations with not only podcasters, but bloggers, writers, YouTubers, TikTokers. So I wanted to expand and keep it niche, but still kind of focus on content creators and serve that community. So man, that's pretty much where I was kind of like inspired by the Creator Factor. Was like, this is my identity. I'm going to own this, but I'm going to help content creators from all walks, because we all use different mediums, right? To be able to create content. Of course. But at the core, we're all like dealing with the same challenges. We're all trying to build businesses around our message.
Yes.
We're all trying to connect with our community on a deeper level.
100%.
So that's where I was at with
I'm gonna hit you with this. Who was Osio before out of the podcast?
What did my God!
You're digging in deep, man.
You did tell me a little bit because I did an interview with you 2 times.
That's
so
right.
I was like, let me get back so people like are watching right now. Like,
yeah, man.
Before
let's get to know Osio.
Osio, my God.
Like we're peeling the audio.
I know,
now,
right? Exactly.
Everything.
I'm getting hungry.
I know, right? My God, yes. Who was I? I was a shy kid, very, very shy kid, and it took me a lot for me to speak up and communicate like what I was feeling and sharing, which is I think the reason why podcasting was a space for me to be able to create, and my true why.
Interesting.
So I really struggled, and then I think when I became a teenager, I was a very imaginative kid. So I was the only child for a long time. So I would lock myself in the attic and pretend I was a performer. So performance has always been a common theme in my life. I was performing like I was a famous, Julio Cesar Chavez boxer.
That's cool.
Performing like I was an athlete, performing like I was Prince. And I always dreamed of being on stage. And that was a very common theme. And then I got into breakdancing. I was a b-boy. I was breakdancing on the streets. And I was,
that's cool.
And then from there, and then fast forward to that, I was in a band for the bulk of my 20s. So I've been on stage. So I had to do that to overcome my fear. So I've always been around. I've been a creative kid since day one. Took me a hard time for me to kind of come out of my shell. But when I did, I was like, I want to help other people, and I want to surround myself around other creatives to kind of break out of their shell, and share their message. So and express themselves. I mean, I think expression is the most beautiful thing that we can do in human culture, right? It's expressing ourselves.
Self-expression.
So microphone. I've been on stage. Was a singer, rapper, dance. So I felt like I've played around with different forms of creativity and expression, and I've been truly blessed to be able to experience those feelings in different platforms. But that's who I was, man. I was a shy kid who turned like an amplified creative that wanted to express and inspire others.
Where did he started with the bartending?
That's interesting. Really quickly, though. Before we go there, it's like, it's crazy how you went from like being very shy.
Yeah.
And not wanting, to share a lot of who you are or to share with other people, to having like successful podcasts where that's all you do is share.
Yeah, that's true.
Sharing your story, sharing other people's stories is just like a very powerful thing, and it feels like that's one of the fires that you had to be able to, that you wanted to do because of you being shy in the beginning, early on, to now you like having so many different conversations, a lot of people downloading your podcast, doing all these events in public, you know what I mean? Talking to a lot of different people. So it just feels like that is like really empowers you, man.
It does. Another thing I want to mention, and thank you for that, because you got me thinking about some things, and Jesus, your question as well. Yeah. You were asking earlier about the why. Yeah. And I think this is my true why. So growing up, I lost my father at 16, and he was a musician, singer-songwriter, played all the instruments. Super, super talented. See him practice, seeing him play at bars, different places, venues.
Oh, wow.
Used to work with a lot of producers. So I saw him hustle, like he was working, doing deliveries, and then he was music. So I saw him as a creative entrepreneur because he was creative and he was hustling, but he was always going back to his music, which was his passion. But I saw him struggle a lot, and he was so talented. He was one of those where so many creatives where you see them, he's like, man, they're so talented. Why haven't I seen that breakthrough? Like he deserves, you know what I mean? When you see it, like he deserves so much more, or she deserves so much more. Yeah. And I felt like my father, he passed away when he was 40, and it was short lived. But he lived with he was very passionate. He put a lot of soul into his music. Wow. But I saw him struggle. So the inspiration behind No Permission Needed was, during that time when I was a musician, we were trying to sell our tapes to be to get a record deal, right? Remember, record labels were a thing, right?
Yes, yeah,
right. Yeah. So we essentially musicians needed permission to be validated for their art, right? Or else they would kind of vanish. So I saw my father go through that, and I went through that, and it was very frustrating to never have the music, rock star dream of performing all over the world. I was able to do it, but not on a global level where I wanted to, right?
Wow.
So I saw like a lot of people, like there was always that middle person, right? There's always the gatekeepers.
Always,
right? Correct, right? Yeah. So no permission needed was a declaration, meaning that you don't need to give yourself permission to do the things that light you up in life and energize you. So it was really my calling card, and it was my way to create a podcast platform to help creative people give themselves permission from the mindset level, but also to understand the importance of studying entrepreneurship and learning business and doing what you need to do to make sure that you can take your creative, your passion, and turn it into a profession. Okay. And I think that we're still kind of in a space now where we're seeing a lot of content creators make bukus of money, right? And it's beautiful to see like these big YouTubers strike up big deals. So I think this is a really exciting time to be a creator.
It is.
You know, but that was really my why, man. I think it continues to be my why because I saw my dad struggle, and I struggled a lot, and I couldn't make my breakthrough on a global level. But now it's like, now I'm serving as an ambassador for creators to be able to say, look, you're creating content, but you could eventually make money doing this. You could eventually do, content marketing, content creation. You could become like a professional creator now in 2023, moving, and beyond. So I'm on a mission to not only document my journey as a creator to where I get to that level, where I'm making brand deals and I'm kind of doing this.
Oh yeah, dude.
But always challenging myself to get better and taking other creators on a journey who's starting off, aspiring creators, and helping them, kind of amplify and get more confident behind their message so they can get to the next level. So that's truly my why.
Makes sense. No. Actually, the way you explained it just makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, man.
Interesting. It just feels like everything you're doing is an outlet to release all these, energy, creativity that you have, things that you've been through and things like that. Everything is just an outlet for self-expression.
That's right.
At a max, and it's beautiful, dude.
And I challenge, like, even if you guys like look back and I think what was that quote that Steve Jobs says that you can connect, looking backwards, connect the dots backwards. There's a quote, I'm chopping it up there, but it's really interesting to see if you go back into your life, like early stage. I'm talking about early, like when you were a kid growing up, and kind of pick on the moments that lit you up. And I believe that all the clues are there. So one of the common themes that when I look back at my life was performance. Like I've always loved performing. And whether it's been, breakdancing or, imagine myself like I was on stage, to breakdancing.
That's cool, dude.
To rapping and singing, to podcast. This is a performance.
That's a performance, dude. Yeah, it's a performance.
To community hosting events, right? I'm hosting a party where it's a performance. I'm bringing it. So that's a stage, right?
It is, bro.
So if you think about it, so it's been really cool for me to kind of journal and look at like, man, what has been the common thread of my life? So I don't know about you guys, but what do you think? Do you see like with video and live streaming, going back in your life and being like, where did that start? Like, what was the inspiration behind me wanting to be a live streamer or do content, or me be behind a camera and record and document? I feel like those clues have been in our childhood. And I think when people say, I can't find my passion, I don't know what my purpose is. Always ask, pause, and take a look back in your life, in your childhood. And the clues are there, and you'll figure out the things that lit you up.
Okay.
And often we lose that childhood curiosity when we go to college and we get jobs and we get married, have kids, we lose that sense of curiosity. But I'm like, look back at your childhood. It's all right there.
That's
and
powerful.
How can you make that and bring that back into your adult life?
That is powerful.
Yeah.
That is powerful.
You guys are thinking about it. I'm saying,
it's like a movie, my mind. Pause.
Oh, man, that's interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess going back to your question about the bartending.
Yeah. Oh, bartending. That's right. Yeah.
Because you still do it, right?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't do bar. But speaking of performance, bartending was a performance.
It's a performance.
Yeah.
You're performing about this.
Yeah. There was a funny quote. Somebody said that bartenders are rock stars who couldn't learn how to play an instrument, so they became bartenders.
Whoa! Who said that?
So my bartenders out there, and bartenders agree. Like when you're there, you're serving, you're moving, you're making drinks, you're chatting it up. There's so many moving parts.
That's
right?
true, man.
I love what happens. The bartender is always your best friend. It's always like the center of attention.
You should become a bartender.
It's you used to be in the service.
I used to be in the bartender.
Yeah.
I did it for maybe.
So you know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what it is. So I bartended for many years, and then I had a mobile bartending business.
Yeah, that's what that was. Cool.
And then I created a book, called Side Hustle Bartending, where I was teaching people how to make money as an event bartender.
You had an ebook too.
I had an ebook. Yeah, I did actually very well on Amazon, and I still have. It's called Mobile Bartending Academy. I've never turned it into a business, which it was one of those things like I regret because I was like I had so much interest, and at the time I was doing my podcasting, but people were like, "Yo, you should do a course." You do this, and I had to ask myself, "Do I really want to jump into this world and build this business up?" Because it was a viable business model, but I decided to say no. But it's there, and I have access to the book.
That's really cool.
But bartending
really
was a way I made my money, man, and worked on my chops.
Man, a lot of the time.
Where's the mezcal?
Now I need it. He's like, now I need it. We have it right here. Let's that's interesting. So, man, that's pretty cool. I had something I wanted to say, but I totally just I grabbed the mezcal.
Let me put the podcast host hat on, and let me ask you guys. Like, I'm curious to know, like, coming from video and you coming from live streaming, like, putting together this Panorama brand studio, which again, I said, congratulations. I'm so proud of you guys for making this happen. I know this is not easy, but
not.
where do you see podcasting working with clients, and how do you see, especially you, Miguel, how do you perceive podcasting now? Because I remember early on you were like, what is a podcast? But now you're like deep in the trenches doing this, man. What's your perception and what's your take on podcasting and video podcasting?
Man, I think it all goes down into what you said earlier, self-expression. I think that's where it starts, right? That's the foundation of what I think about when I think of podcasting, because I wanted to start something with Jesus because we both had the similar idea of like we wanted to share something. We had something that we wanted to share, and this is how literally it all came about. We just wanted a space to self-expression. And then like with my mindset of like, hey, but at the same time, I love business, and I love creating as well, and I love taking things to the next level as well. So I was like, how can we turn this into a business, and how can we go about getting clients and all that stuff, and I think it all comes down into two things for me: self-expression and then business. Because I remember a while back when I started my video production company, I was just doing videos on the side, and I read that. I didn't read the book, but I've heard about that title of the title of the book told me everything that I needed to know about that book. The Starving Artist, I think it's called.
Okay.
The Starving Artist, and I never read the book, but just the title, I feel like that's all I needed for me, because I was like, wow, there's so many artists out there who are literally very good at what they do, but they don't know how to monetize anything. They don't know anything about business. So with me, I went to business school, and I was like, I love creating, I love art, but I also don't want to be broke. How can I make money from doing this? So that's kind of like the balance I've been going with the last 4 or 5 years. That's the only thing I've been trying to balance: creating money, but through living my purpose as well. Because a lot of people, they just create, and they start a podcast or they start something, but with the mindset, not with the mindset of how can I make money from this, but more of the mindset of I'm passionate about this. It just feels like a hobby, right? So that's how I started too. I think we all do, because we're so passionate about what we do. And at the end of the day, but I think that book really kind of changed something in me, where it's like everything I do moving forward, I want to make sure I learn how to make money from it. Yeah. Whether it's something that people don't see, how can you make money from podcasting or whatever? I'm always going to find a way.
Yeah.
Whether it's like creating a studio to help other people create their own video podcast, right? Right now I'm sharing about me, right? Of course, Jesus has also been helping a lot with everything that we're doing. We do everything together. Yeah. But right now, since just kind of like sharing a little bit of what is in my mind at the moment, I feel like that is it. Just juggling business and art. That's what I've been doing the last 5 years.
I love it. And I think you and I are on the same mission with Creator Factor, which I got to get you guys on the show, because that is my mission, is because for a long time, I struggle with money, man. Yeah. I was like, even I have friends now. It's like, dude, all your events are free. Everything you give us free. And of course, I'm a value-driven person. Yeah. But at what point do creatives lean into saying, okay,
it's time.
Let's go from starving artist to thriving artist, and how can I thrive and be sustainable?
There you go. I like that. Let's go from starving artist to
that's the title of this. That's the title of this episode.
Let's go. Let's do it. I like that. I like that. Wow.
So, going back to what you're saying again, we're on the same mission.
Yeah.
Is that I think that I love the approach because I agree.
Yeah.
You know, you figured out a way to provide this as a service.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And even podcasters going into going back to like, what are some tips for new podcasters? If it's going to be a hobby, it's a hobby. You can call it the Sarah Jones Show, and it's a podcast, and it's hobby, and do your thing.
Course,
right.
Yeah.
No judgment on that. So I want to make sure that I'm very clear on that. But if you're going to tie it in and align it with the business vision, I think there's nothing wrong with planning and strategy. That's the reason why coaches are here, where we can say, okay, how is this show is not going to be blatantly selling, but how can we position it to where you can sell digital products, coaching, consulting. I think understanding that and getting very clear out the gate will help the podcaster 1000%. And I think getting into that business mind frame is so crucial for creatives, and we need to do more of that and lean into that versus fighting this whole thing of like, I want to do everything for, freemium.com, and I want to do this for free. And at the end of the day, we want to make money doing it. And here's the thing that whenever you provide value, ultimately that provides results, and it can help somebody else get better, right? And that essentially is what business is, right? Providing a solution to a problem. So again, calling out all my creatives, like lean into the business side and learn business, learn marketing, learn sales. And learn how to articulate what you provide, for your customers. I think it's super important. So I'm glad you touched on that. So Jesus,
what about you, man?
What about you? Podcasting, the evolution and what you're doing now.
Yes, man. I'm going back to when you started saying about how when you were a little kid and how it started. So to me, it was not. I cannot recall too much about that when I was a little kid, but I did a lot of things, right? But when it opened up my mind to doing live streaming and doing video, was when my story started. When I couldn't I didn't get to see my daughter for 2 years and all of that. That's when the podcast thing came out, and I didn't even know anything about podcasts. I was just working out outside, and I just got through me that calling, and I just said, when I was working out, I said, I gotta have my own video show. And the same day, not having a lot of money, I went to Amazon, and I got a little mic and a little stand and with the phone, and I said, I'm gonna create a show. And then my next question was like, I don't know anything about business. I don't even know any business owners. So I was like, what am I doing? But it was here, that guy just threw me like, you got to start your own video show. You got to share the message of what's happening to you right now through the world. And I was like, but how do I do that? And then I started asking questions to myself, like, all right, so now I got homework. I'm going to go to Facebook for a whole month, and I'm going to learn about business. I'm going to learn who's doing business, who's this business owner, is it brick and mortar, is it online, and then reach out to them and just talk to them a little bit about me, a little bit about the story.
Good. He's still good at that too.
And I started building relationship with them, not only in Houston, but people in Chicago and LA. And then I went back after the month and I said, hey guys, I'm about to start a show. This is going to be the Jesus Ortiz, I still remember it, the Jesus Ortiz diary show.
I remember that.
And and I said, are you willing to be in the show? But the thing is that the only time that I got time is from 9 p.m. to 10 because I had a job. Is that fine with you guys? And everybody said yes. So I started rolling video podcasts at that time with the phone. I didn't even know what was a podcast. And those are the times, and then when I got to meet you, another podcaster, and they reached out to me, Jesus, do you know you're doing podcasts? I'm like, what is that? And that's when I started learning about the audio side of it, not the video, because at that time there was not a lot of people doing it. I was already doing it, but nobody a lot was doing it. Right. And I kept on doing it for months, and I built a lot of relationship. And I think that's when the shyness went a little bit away. And I wasn't too much shy, but the shyness of like building the relationship with an owner or like learning the behind of what they're doing this. And it cut out to me that learning all of this, I was like, man, this podcast thing can turn to be a business. And it's like, that's when I started seeing you, how you were doing the stuff. I started seeing other podcasters, and I couldn't cut up like we were saying, like, I have a message, but I don't know how to monetize it. I don't want to I want to throw more value, but I don't want to, think people that I'm just like, I want to be like, hey, you're going to be on my podcast, but I'm going to charge you for you to be in my podcast. So there were so many questions until I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it for free value, show my message, and telling them what I'm going through. And that's how I started building the relationship. And they go through, and then that's how later on I started just say, live streaming because when Facebook did the first live, I was afraid, dude. The first time the live they gave it to us, to the people, I said, I'm gonna do my first live. And I was like, and I already know what I want to talk about. I want to inspire and motivate others, and just for them to take action like I'm doing. So I still remember it was like 7 o'clock. I went outside by the streets, took the phone out, and went live for 0 people. Nobody watching. Yeah. But that's what everybody that is watching here, they always say, but nobody's watching me and I don't want to do it. Do it. I had 0 people for months. I was just me by myself, inspiring.
Love it.
Talking, giving a little aspect of what it was going on in my life.
Yeah.
This, my daughter, or not having money, how am I gonna make it for this? I don't even, they took my car away, like all of this. I was just giving what was going on to me.
I love that.
And now people are finding those old videos and they're reaching back to me and they say, that's why we're going back to you, because you were real. And your videos are popping back. Those old videos that they're all from
the real Jesus.
The real Jesus guy. And I appreciate those people that find those videos. I'm like, wow. And I was like, I understand that now, high quality, but the value you threw is helping a lot of people. Well, it helped me.
Yeah.
I'm going through the same things that you're going right now, or I already did.
So 2 things. You were putting in the reps that got you to a point to where now you can conduct a professional podcast interview. So you've evolved. And if it wasn't for you giving yourself permission to press record, right, you wouldn't be at this point. Number 1. The second thing, man, too, that's really for a lot of creators and creative people and even business owners are looking to get into space. The biggest lesson, 99% of people are afraid to press record. And when I talk to them, I'm like, how come you're just not going live? Well, nobody's in to listen, right? And what you said, that there was 0, I'm like, people are afraid of that 0. And I'm like,
yes.
And I get it.
Yeah,
I'm I even struggle like that as well, right? Every time, anybody who does live streaming knows, like, oh, nobody's gonna watch this. Like, is it worth my time?
Yeah.
And I always challenge people, hey, if you have a message, press record. 0 people, it's all good, because at the end of the day, that 0 is what's gonna prevent 99% of people to press record. And the fact that you press record to go live and do that thing is what makes you ahead of the game and makes you a leader, sir, because that's the thing that really kind of, people don't lean into that.
No.
You know why? Because they're worried about what other people think.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. People are worried about what the other people think. And I'm like, yo, if you are passionate, you want to lean into your message, press record, start a podcast, forget about the metrics. You may get 5 downloads, 10 downloads, that's 5 to 10 people, 20, 30, 40. And I'm like, and I always tell people, imagine if you were getting, and I have people too, even now, like, I want to get like 40, 50, downloads, per episode. Like, my metric, it's not growing. I'm like, man, think about that. You're getting 40 to 50 downloads. Imagine doing an event and you're having 40 to 50 people in a room consistently.
That's true. That is true.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't that account for something? I'm like, you got to respect that. You got to understand that. That's 40 to 50 people that you're doing consistently. I think that's a success.
That's a success for sure.
So be appreciative and be grateful that you're able to do that, because you're putting in the work and people are showing up for you. So again,
literally yesterday we were doing that live stream.
Yeah.
And that happens. I'm guilty of that too. When I'm like looking at the live and I'm doing a live and 0 people are watching.
You're like, oh, okay.
Maybe 1 person.
Why am I doing this? I feel silly. Like,
yes, exactly. Like, I'm talking, as I'm talking, I'm also thinking about who's watching it live.
Sure.
But then I told Jesus, like, dude, like, nobody really watches. He's like, yeah, some of my videos nobody really watches when they're live.
Yeah.
That's the key part, because then he's like, yeah, but people, like, after it's done and everything, and it stays on social media, people go back and watch that video.
Yeah.
So whether maybe they didn't watch it live, but when you go back a few days later, maybe 200, 300 people watch it. And it's like, wow, there's all these people that actually watch this video, even though it wasn't live. So to me, like Miguel, it's like, I'd rather sometimes just actually record myself, not doing it live, which I know still people are going to be watching it. And since I'm a quality guy, I feel like the quality is still going to be better when I record it when it's not live. Because when it's live, the quality kind of reduces a little bit, but it's still cool. It's still fun, but it makes you feel like there's somebody out there who might just click on it and they're interacting with you live, and that's kind of like really cool too. But for me, Miguel, I'm like, I don't see people like maybe 1 or 0 people are watching it, but now I'm gonna start thinking, people are gonna watch it after this regardless. Yeah. So just stick to your message.
The magic is in the magic is in the replay. And I will say this: live stream, which I loved about Jesus and the way you devoted to live streaming.
Yeah,
people are talking about video podcasting, art podcasting, etc. I still think that live streaming is the only true bona fide, authentic, human community building platform. Okay. Live streaming is great for community building. You can't get any better than that because you're live, you're answering questions, people see you there in real time, and they see all the imperfections, they hear all the imperfections, and that's when you can really humanize your message through live stream only. Video podcast, you can edit and you could do this in post-production. Yes, we're getting a little essence of what you do, but live streaming is truly human form content creation, period.
I work with a company, a brand that I always would mention, do a live stream. And they were so perfect in the way they wanted to go about things. Of course, it's a company, they have a reputation. I get that, of course. Yeah. But it's like, they never wanted to do a live stream. Everything that needed to be very edited, very like extremely. And I was like, dude, just have your viewers like actually see who you are. Yeah. I know it's a big company, but like even big companies do this now. Like they started doing live streams. I know a lot of the people who get into live streams are kind of well-spoken a lot of the times, but just be you, man. People want to see who's really doing this or who's trying this product, who the people behind it. Because sometimes your target audience are not the perfect models. They're the people like you and me. They just going through their daily lives every single day, and they also have struggles, have pains, have and they want to get more out of life. That's the people that you want to get.
And I believe, Miguel, that we're going to see, I want to add to that real quick, my man.
Sure, yeah.
I believe that we're going to see more brands, B2B businesses, SaaS companies, etc., really embrace that they need to brand like a creator. And what I mean by that is that content creators are the great marketers, the Mr. Beast of the world, right? All that. They know how to brand and create content. And if you look at Prime Energy, look, for example, even if you look at their bio, it's not fluffy. Hey, we believe in it. None of that. It's not. It's real, like basic text copy. Very, very simple. Yes. And I think that big companies, I understand there's reputation and red tape and they got board of directors. I get it. Yeah. But the companies that really embrace true creator marketing style are the ones that are going to win. And the more human you become and the less editing. See, leave the overproduced stuff for cable and Netflix. But when you're online on the mobile phone, people want to see real human beings, real brands acting like real human beings, and they're going to gravitate towards that. And that's why you see, Casper Mattress and some of the big brands that are really kind of taking it to the next level and they're dominating. Is because they're Red Bull. They're human. They're not. It's not edited. They're just having fun and they're just real people, just kind of vibing. And I think we're going to see more. It's my prediction. More a trend.
That's powerful.
A B2B companies thinking more creators versus more overly produced content. So
this is going to grow. You in 5 years. We're gonna come back to this conversation.
Yes,
and you're gonna be like the Simpsons, man.
We should do the end of the year prediction, episode because I called this out and it's happening, and I do think that's gonna get really, really interesting.
Oh man,
moving forward, I'm excited.
That's definitely exciting, and I know we pretty much already been doing this for about an hour. So
we're going Joe Rogan style. Let's go. We got another hour. Let's go, man. Come on.
You want to go another hour?
I'm good. I'm good, man.
We can still go for 10 minutes.
You guys got clients and meetings or whatnot. So I respect that.
It's 12:32, so we got a couple of.
I was gonna say either now or in the next episode, I want to dig in deep into only that. Brands and how they communicate and how podcasting is going to play a part in everything around branding and raw. Like what you just said, I want to really dig into that for a whole nother hour.
We'll do that. We'll do it again. Part two.
And then we can do part 3 where we can do a live streaming too.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
That's true, man. Yeah, I see it right now that when I started live streaming, there's a lot of people. Yeah. Now it kind of lowered down again. You don't see a lot of people. You don't see it
as much, right? Yeah.
But I think you have a point, like, to get back into it and build that community where we're raw and we actually have those questions. So what mic do I need? Boom, right there. Yeah. There's you did to me. Here's my link. I get maybe $5 out of it. Yeah. Here you go. Yeah.
Like now you got an affiliate link. Like the affiliate link, the affiliate marketing. I wanted to say
Yeah.
Where can people find you, man?
Yes.
Oh, where can people find me? Wow. Okay.
On social media, of course.
On social media.
Don't tell them where you live. Don't tell them the
Google me.
Starbucks. Coffee shops.
Starbucks.
Coffee shops.
If you see me, just buy me a cup of Starbucks or coffee, and I'll be a happy man.
Or at the park.
Free coaching session for you. Put it out there. Creatorfactor.net. So check out the podcast, Creator Factor. It's a weekly Wednesday episode podcast. It's also on YouTube as well, which is actually new to me, but I'm getting into back on YouTubing, and also at Ozil Creates on all social media platforms, and also Ozil.net is the personal brand where I'm going to be focusing on delivering more value for my audience. Yeah. So
Anything else you want to leave and share with the people?
Oh man, support creators. Support creators. I think if you have a favorite podcaster, if you have a favorite creator, a lot of them have Patreon and a lot of donations.
Yes.
Donate and support them. If you see if they have somewhere where you can donate super chats and on YouTube, but support your local creators or just creators in general, your favorite creator, because this helps us sustain and support what we do as creators. So if there's anything I can do is get out there and support. I think it's.
Let me ask
important.
you how can I, the last question? How as creators, how can we set up this stuff so all the people can support or what we're doing? I said Patreon. Just get a Patreon account, or
So there's obviously Patreon. There's Supercast is another platform that people are using, and there's a lot of platforms where it's subscription based where people can kind of subscribe to things and pay. But you can set it up, and I always even a PayPal. I remember when I first started my podcast, I had a PayPal. I said donate. Yeah, same thing, right? And people were donating, and all you have to do is ask. Creators lean into the ask. If you say, "Hey, listen, I would be more than grateful if you would like to support the show." To cover some overhead, you'll be surprised. People will donate. People will donate, and I want to see more of that happening. So donate to Panorama Brand Studio, y'all.
To the Creator Factor, man. Come on, let's go.
Of course. Well, thank you again, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, man, it's fun, man.
Thank you, hermano.
Finally got to do this, man.
Part 1 though, so y'all can listen. Part 1.
Yeah, part 2 is coming up. So see you guys in the next one.
All right, man.
Boom.